Libra, something is shifting. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with silence so loud it hums beneath your skin. It's the kind of moment when the world around you looks unchanged, but deep inside, something has started to loosen. The room still holds your laughter. The mirror still reflects your smile. The calendar still says you're right on track. And yet, something feels over. Like the page has already turned, and you're still standing in the story before it. You can't explain it. There was no warning, no goodbye note, no this is the end. But the energy? The energy is already walking away. Maybe it's a job that once gave you purpose. Maybe it's a dream you outgrew quietly. Maybe it's a version of yourself, one you no longer recognize. And now, you're standing in between two worlds, the one you've always known, and the one that hasn't arrived yet. You're not crazy for feeling this. You're not too sensitive. You're not broken. You're awake. This message isn't just about love. It's about loss in all its hidden forms. A business, a city, a friendship, a title, a version of you that once felt like forever. This is your soul's way of telling you a goodbye is coming. And it will change you, but it won't destroy you. So stay with me until the end. Because what you're about to feel is not just loss, it's a sacred clearing. And when it's over, you'll see why it had to happen this way. Comment below, I'm learning to release what no longer serves me. Let those words mark the beginning of your healing. Now Libra, let's talk about the quiet heartbreak your soul has already sensed, even if your life still looks the same. The goodbye you felt but couldn't explain. Libra, there's a goodbye happening in your life right now, but it's not loud, it doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention. It arrives like dusk, slowly, softly, until suddenly, the light is gone and you don't know when it left. It could be a role you've played for years. The worker, the friend everyone depends on. The dreamer who once had fire in their voice and certainty in their eyes. You've woken up recently and felt something is missing. Not a person, not an object, but a piece of meaning. The way you once felt about your job, your purpose, your art, your path, it's not the same. The goodbye is subtle, but it's real. And because you can't point to a specific moment, because there was no announcement, no end clearly marked, you question yourself, why do I feel this way? Is this just burnout? Am I being ungrateful? Shouldn't I be happy? But Libra, you're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. You're not lost. You're evolving. What once gave you life now feels like it's draining you. What once lit up your soul now feels like an obligation you can't escape. And still, you keep showing up because you care, because you're loyal, because you don't want to let anyone down. But your soul is whispering, and it's saying something powerful. This version of your life is done. It just hasn't finished falling away yet. It's hard, isn't it? Because you once prayed for this. You once wanted it so badly. And now that it's here, it feels empty. You used to be excited about Monday mornings. Now you stare at the screen, forcing yourself to smile through it. You used to feel alive when you created, when you served, when you spoke. Now you feel like you're watching someone else live your life, and your spirit is on mute. And the most painful part? No one sees it. To the outside world, you're fine. You're functioning. You're holding it together. You're still productive, still showing up, still doing what needs to be done. But on the inside, you feel like a shadow of yourself. You feel like something already left, and you're still here, pretending it didn't. Libra, let me tell you something that might bring relief. Not every goodbye comes with closure. Sometimes the soul decides it's time to move on, before the rest of your life catches up. This is the goodbye you couldn't explain. The one you felt before it had a name. The one that showed up as restlessness, disinterest, fatigue, detachment. Not because you're lazy, not because you're confused, but because you've outgrown a space that no longer supports who you are becoming. And growth is often painful, because it means leaving behind parts of yourself that you once loved. It means letting go of titles, labels, identities that once made you feel whole. But they don't fit anymore. You're not broken for feeling distant from your old life. You're not lost for wanting something else. You're not selfish for no longer feeling fulfilled by the things you used to love. You're transforming, and with every transformation comes a loss, not of failure, but of alignment. You're learning to say goodbye to what once served you, but no longer supports you. You're learning to release the version of yourself that only existed in survival. You're learning to feel without explaining, to detach without guilt, to evolve without needing permission. And even though it hurts, even though it feels like you're walking away from something sacred, please know this: what's leaving your life now is making room for what's about to arrive. But you can't walk through the next door while holding on to what's already fading. So be gentle with yourself, Libra. You're not crazy, you're not lost, you're realigning. The goodbye you feel but can't explain, it's the first sign that your next chapter is approaching. Trust that. They won't warn you, but the shift is already happening. Libra? The most difficult shifts in life are the ones that happen quietly. No alarms, no clear signs, no final conversation, just a slow, invisible separation, like the ground beneath you changing texture, one silent crack at a time. And that's what's happening now. Someone or something in your life, whether it's a person, a workplace, a city, a role you've long identified with, is pulling away, but they won't say it out loud, they won't warn you. They might not even realize it themselves, but their energy has already begun to drift. The truth is, not every exit comes through a door. Some exits come in shifts of behavior, in quiet distancing, in canceled plans, in energy that once felt close but now feels guarded, calculated, distracted. It might be a friend who suddenly feels hard to reach. It might be a creative dream that no longer excites you. It might be a job you once fought to have, that now feels like it's shrinking you inside. And the hardest part? Everything looks the same. You're still working, still communicating, still showing up, still functioning. But underneath, something has already started to fade. Libra, you're intuitive. You feel things long before the world gives you evidence. That tightness in your chest, that mental fog, that unspoken sadness, those are signs. You're picking up on an emotional shift that hasn't yet made itself physical. You've been sensing the goodbye, even though no one has said anything. Because sometimes what's ending isn't obvious. Sometimes the goodbye begins in emotion, not words. In absence, not action. The friend who no longer checks in like they used to. The passion project that now feels more like a chore. The mentor whose advice used to light you up but now rings hollow. They won't say they're leaving. They won't tell you the chapter is closing. But their presence will slowly fade and their heart will start walking away, even as their body remains near. You'll find yourself questioning, is it me? Did I change? Am I too sensitive? But Libra, it's not that you're too sensitive, it's that you're spiritually awake. You notice what others miss, the tension in the tone, the avoidance in the eyes, the missing warmth in the familiar places. And it hurts, because you don't want to jump to conclusions. You don't want to assume the worst. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You want to believe that if it mattered to them, they'd say something. But the truth is, most people don't know how to say goodbye. So they slowly disconnect. They start preparing for a life without you, emotionally, mentally, energetically. They plan their escape in silence, and by the time the actual departure happens, they've already let go. This isn't just about people. It's about jobs. It's about environments. It's about your own inner roles. The titles and labels you've clung to for years. You might still show up to the same desk. You might still wear the same name badge. You might still open your laptop every morning and try to care. But something has already shifted. And Libra, if you're honest, you know it. This is the space between attachment and truth. The moment where everything outside you says, keep going. But everything inside you says, something is ending. It's confusing. It's painful. Because no one tells you what to do when you're still in a place that no longer holds you. And yet, this is a sacred moment. The energy is changing because you are changing. You're becoming more aware, more aligned, more connected to what nourishes you, and more intolerant of what drains you. And as this happens, certain things or people will start to shift away. Not to hurt you, but because they were only meant to walk beside you for a certain distance. Their time in your life wasn't a mistake, but it's not permanent. Libra, here's what you must understand. You can't keep reaching for what's pulling away. You can't keep convincing yourself to stay where your soul is already uncomfortable. You can't beg for connection in places that were meant to be temporary. And most importantly, you cannot heal if you keep pretending you don't notice the change. You feel it. You know something is off. You know something is shifting, quietly, invisibly, but completely. So now you have a choice. You can try to hold everything in place, or you can let the energy go where it needs to go, and trust that whatever is leaving is making space for something more aligned. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it hurts, even when there's no explanation, because the shift isn't here to punish you. It's here to prepare you. You gave your all, and still it's ending. Libra, what happens when you do everything right, and it still ends? You planned, you prayed, you showed up early, you stayed late, you sacrificed your time, your peace, your sleep, all for something you believed in with your entire soul. You poured into it with care. You protected it like it was part of your body. You gave it your love, your effort, your brilliance, all of you. And now, it's fading, it's folding, it's falling apart, right in front of your eyes. And no one warned you that even when you give your all, even when your heart is clean, your intentions pure, some things still end. This isn't just disappointment. This is spiritual exhaustion. It's the quiet grief of watching something you built, something you believed in, something you needed to work, begin to die anyway. And worst of all, it makes you question your worth. You ask yourself things like, was it all for nothing? Was I wrong to hope? How do I rebuild when I no longer know who I am without this? Maybe it was a business you birthed from scratch. Maybe it was a job you committed to for years, giving more than was ever required. Maybe it was a creative project that once made your soul sing, but now barely stirs a whisper inside you. Maybe it was a mission you gave everything to, and now the mission has changed, and you weren't invited to follow it. Libra, this chapter is not about someone else walking away. This is about you watching a part of yourself crumble, even after you've done everything to keep it alive. And I want to say this with so much care. It is not your fault. Not everything ends because you failed. Sometimes it ends because your soul is no longer meant to carry it. And sometimes the ending is mercy, not punishment. You gave your all. That was never the problem. But the truth is, you can't hold up what no longer wants to stand. And it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to say, I don't know who I am without this. Because part of your identity was tied to that chapter, and losing it can feel like losing yourself. But here's the spiritual secret no one talks about. When something leaves after you gave it everything, it's because that version of you is no longer needed for what's next. This is not the collapse of your value. It's the collapse of an identity your spirit has outgrown. Yes, it's ending. But that doesn't mean it wasn't meaningful. It doesn't mean you wasted your time. It doesn't mean your love was in vain. It means it fulfilled its divine assignment. And now, so must you. You gave your all, and that's something to honor. You were loyal, you were devoted, you were real. But now your soul is asking you to let the work go and rest. Let the structure fall, let the purpose shift, let the story unravel, not because you gave too little, but because you've given enough. This is not a sign that you should try harder. This is a sign that something new, something more aligned is being born. But first, you must allow what's ending to end. Grieve it, honor it, bless it for what it gave you, and then gently begin to release the idea that your worth was ever tied to its survival. Libra, even when it breaks you, even when it empties you, you will rise. Different, yes, but deeper, clearer, wiser. And what's coming next will not ask you to burn for it. It will meet you where you are. Whole. This goodbye is not a curse. It's a spiritual clearing. Libra, it's easy to believe that when something ends, it's because you failed. That if a chapter closes, it must mean you did something wrong. That if the job falls apart, the friendship fades, the passion dies, the opportunity vanishes, it must be punishment. But it's not. This goodbye, the one that hurts, the one you didn't ask for, the one that's pressing on your heart like a silent weight, is not a curse. It's a spiritual clearing. And even though it doesn't feel like it right now, this loss is sacred. You see, when your spirit begins to rise, when your soul starts to ask for deeper alignment, when your energy no longer fits the container it once lived in, life begins to clear the path. It doesn't always look pretty. It doesn't come wrapped in explanation. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It simply begins, quietly, slowly, suddenly. A relationship that no longer nurtures you falls apart. A job that drains your creativity ends. A friendship that once felt like family becomes distant. A version of yourself you once fought to protect now feels like a costume you can't wait to take off. And your first instinct? Blame, shame, guilt, fear. But Libra, this isn't destruction. It's design. This isn't chaos. It's clarity arriving in the most divine disguise. Because the universe never takes without purpose. The universe clears what no longer belongs, not to harm you, but to free you. Free you from pretending. Free you from performing. Free you from holding spaces that ask you to shrink. Free you from chasing peace in places that only bring you noise. It's hard to understand this in the moment. Because grief is loud. Because endings feel like betrayal. Because no one told you that being spiritually chosen also means being spiritually stripped. Stripped of illusions, stripped of false identities, stripped of people, titles, labels, roles, even dreams that were once beautiful but no longer belong in your becoming. So here you are, in the middle of the clearing, feeling raw, exposed, confused, lonely. But this is where the real transformation happens. Because without the noise, you can hear your soul again. Without the distractions, you can see what you've been ignoring. Without the roles and responsibilities weighing you down, you can begin to feel yourself return to yourself. And what's next? It won't require force. It won't require overgiving. It won't require begging to be seen. Because what's coming after this goodbye will align naturally with your truth. It will feel peaceful. It will feel like air. It will feel like you, not the version of you had to become to survive, but the version you were always meant to be. Libra, this clearing may be painful, but it's purifying you. It's wiping away what you only held on to out of fear. It's burning away the comfort zone that kept you quiet. It's releasing the energies that kept you distracted. And yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it feels unfair. Yes, it feels like too much, but it's necessary. This goodbye is not punishment for loving too much or trying too hard. This goodbye is the soul's way of making sure you don't carry what you were never meant to keep. So cry, grieve, feel it all. Don't rush the healing, don't force the acceptance. But when you're ready, look at what's left. The silence, that's sacred. The space, that's opportunity. The pain, that's your heart cracking open to let in new light. You're not being erased, you're being reformed. So don't curse the goodbye. Bless it, honor it, even if your voice trembles while doing it. Because when this is over, you'll realize that what felt like loss was actually permission. Permission to finally be who you are, without apology, without performance, without the old story. This Libra is not your end. This is your clearing. And what's coming will be built on nothing but truth. How to let go when you don't have closure. Libra, letting go is already hard enough, but letting go without answers, that's a different kind of heartbreak. When something ends and you're left standing there with unfinished words, unanswered questions, and a heart full of what-ifs, it creates a silence that echoes. You don't know what went wrong. You don't know if it was your fault. You don't know why it had to happen like that. You just know it did. And now, you're here, trying to grieve something that never gave you a proper goodbye. It could be a friend who drifted and never came back. A job that let you go without explanation. A business that suddenly collapsed after years of effort. A version of yourself you had to abandon without understanding why she no longer fit. No apology, no closure, no ceremony, just absence. And Libra, that absence feels like it's swallowing you. You replay every memory, looking for the moment everything shifted. You overthink every conversation, wondering if you missed a sign. You scroll through old photos, messages, journals, searching for a clue, for something to make it all make sense. But sometimes, closure doesn't come from them. Sometimes the silence is the answer. And it hurts, because you deserve to know. You deserve honesty. You deserve clarity. You deserve someone, or something, to sit you down and say, this is why I'm leaving. This is what changed. This is why you're no longer part of this chapter. But Libra, not everyone has the courage to give you that. Not every ending is clean. Not every goodbye is fair. And if you wait for that closure to come from outside of you, you may wait forever. So now the healing is in your hands. You must choose to create your own closure. Not because you got the answers, but because you're tired of bleeding from wounds you can't see. Here's how it begins. Step 1. Accept what you didn't receive. You didn't get the thank you. You didn't get the truth. You didn't get the explanation. Accept that. Mourn that. Let that be real. Step 2. Forgive what you will never understand. Forgive the boss who dismissed you. Forgive the friend who stopped answering. Forgive the chapter that ended mid-sentence, not for them, but for you. Step 3. Speak the goodbye yourself. Write the letter they never sent. Say the words they never gave you. Close the door they left open, because you don't need their permission to move forward. You don't need their voice to validate your pain. You don't need their reasons to begin again. Letting go without closure means saying, I don't know why it ended, but I know I cannot keep reopening this wound waiting for someone else to heal it. You let go because your peace matters. You let go because your healing matters. You let go because holding on is costing you more than the memory is worth. And this doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending you weren't hurt. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't mean something to you. It just means you've decided that your energy is too sacred to be trapped in someone else's silence. Libra, you deserve resolution. But sometimes resolution isn't found in answers. It's found in acceptance. You don't need to know everything to be free. You just need to know that this chapter, whatever it was, is not where your story ends. So close it, even if it trembles in your hands, even if it still aches when you breathe, even if a part of you still hopes for a different ending. Close it, not because you're done loving, but because you're done waiting for someone else to love you the way you needed. This is your soul saying, I release what I do not understand, because my healing cannot depend on someone else's courage. You don't need closure to heal. You just need to choose yourself. Fully, finally, and without apology. And that, Libra, is the most powerful closure of all. What you're losing is making room for something greater. Libra, sometimes the loss feels too big to carry. Sometimes it feels like you're being emptied against your will. And maybe right now, all you can see is what's leaving. But what if I told you that what's being removed is only making space? What's walking away, the job, the dream, the friendship, the version of you, is clearing the path for what's been waiting to enter. You weren't abandoned. You were redirected. The universe saw something you couldn't. It knew that to bring in the next chapter, it had to first remove the noise of the last one. You see, nothing real will ever leave your life without a replacement that carries deeper meaning. But you won't see it while you're focused on the absence. You'll only feel it once you learn to trust the void. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's confusing. But that ache in your chest is just your soul stretching, making room for what's coming next. Something greater is forming. And soon, Libra, you'll understand why this goodbye had to happen first. You are not breaking, you are blooming differently. Libra, you've walked through silence. You've faced the shift. You've held on, you've let go, and still, you're here. Yes, this goodbye will leave a mark, but it's not the kind that breaks you. It's the kind that builds you quietly from within. The kind that carves out space for a version of yourself you've never met, but were always becoming. This goodbye isn't just about what's ending, it's about what's awakening. You are not falling apart. You are unfolding into someone more honest, more open, more aligned with your soul's truth. You may feel raw, you may feel tired, you may even feel lost for a while. But this is not the end, this is your becoming. So be gentle with yourself. Don't rush the healing. Don't shame the tears. Don't measure your progress in straight lines. Because healing, for you, dear Libra, will always come like a poem. Slow, soft, beautiful, and worth waiting for. If this message spoke to your soul, comment below. I'm learning to release what no longer serves me. Let your words be an echo of strength for someone else. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because this space will always remind you of your worth, your light, and your quiet power to begin again. You're not breaking, you're blooming differently. And soon, you'll look back at this goodbye, not with sorrow, but with sacred understanding. You were never being left behind, you were being led forward, one soft goodbye at a time.